Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, we're going to take a look at the studio discography of one of the great guitar players of all time, Mr. Jeff Beck. All right, whether you love him on the Stratocaster or whether you like him on the Gibson Les Paul, he mostly plays a Strat. Sorry, trying to get used to this image thing up here. One of the most unique players ever. Got his kind of start in the Yardbirds. That's where he really made a name for himself, but eventually he went off and formed his own group, successive number of different groups and solo albums and what have you to follow. Okay, very notable player. Not a ton of albums considering how long he's been around and recording, but some great ones, some not so great ones. Today we're just going to focus on the Jeff Beck studio albums. We're not going to look at the Yardbirds, okay? We're not going to look at the live albums. And normally on these shows, I don't dabble and include compilations, soundtracks, and kind of covers albums. I'm going to make a little bit of an exception here, and I'll tell you why. He's got one album that's basically a soundtrack album that he worked on with someone else. That, for the most part, I almost wasn't going to include, but the more you listen to it, there's some fully realized compositions in there. In fact, quite a few of them. It's mostly guitar and percussion, drums and percussion. But, a bunch of his instrumental albums are kind of like that. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to throw that in here. I'm also going to include his album, which was basically his tribute to his musical hero, Gene Vincent, okay, which is it's all Gene Vincent covers, right? But because it's more of kind of like a tribute album to his hero, I'm gonna include it. It's not just like a haphazard thrown together collection of covers. So I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna deviate from my normal rules on the show for this one in honor of Mr. Beck, right? So you know how it goes. I'm gonna start from my least favorite all the way to my favorite. Some of the ones at the bottom, just not as into. He's got a handful of albums that just don't really resonate with me, but then he's got some that are just absolute drop-dead classics. So, and a couple of them I don't have physical copies of, so I'm just going to talk about them, but I'll show you all of them. I have the bulk of them here. So anyway, we're going to start off at the bottom. Number 17, I'm going to go with his 2003 release, Jeff. One of the issues I have with a lot of the, or a few of the more recent Jeff Beck releases over the last like 20 years or so, is that he's using like this, a lot of different like female vocalists. He's utilizing lots of kind of like hip hop, trance, and techno rhythms and beats, and then he's throwing his guitar work all over. All right, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I also find that the female vocalists that he's using, and there's been a few of them, are doing more of kind of like this weird spoken word type of thing. It's kind of got this R&B feel to it, but a lot of times they're just kind of like speaking through the songs with these percolating kind of trip-hop rhythms, and then you go, Beck kind of comes in and out of the mix with his savage guitar. Love the guitar playing. The songs don't do a hell of a lot for me, and that album, Jeff, just doesn't really work for me. It's, like I said, it's great to listen to for the guitar work. The songs just don't resonate with me. And that's kind of like a trend with a few of the more recent works that he's done. Next up at number 16, I'm going to go 1993 with Crazy Legs. That, of course, that's his tribute to Gene Vincent. Fine for what it is, kind of hearing Jeff do that really early rockabilly type of thing. It's a fine album, just it's not my cup of tea. All right. I've listened to it numerous times. I can appreciate it, but that's just not the style of music that I really like. Okay. I know some might rank that a bit higher. I think it's kind of cool that he did that album, right? It shows a different side to his playing, shows you his roots. It's just not my thing. Right. Coming in at number 15, we're going to go with his most recent album, Loud Hailer, from 2016. Again, great guitar work. Not nuts about the vocals, not nuts about the kind of the arrangements of the songs. There's some good stuff on there, yeah. But overall, it's just, to me, it's kind of not what I want to be listening to with Beck. I don't know. I've just had a hard time really grabbing hold of his more recent stuff. I've tried, you know, like the next one, You Had It Coming from 2001, from it's number 14 here. Again, great playing. Don't dig the rhythms much. The vocals don't work in these songs for me. Just for me. I don't know. I know people dig these albums, and you think you want a Grammy for a couple tunes on some of these albums too. I get it. And I get that he's kind of doing something different, trying to make it modern. I don't know. I'd rather he just would go back to, like, guitar, bass, drums, and keyboards. Just for me, I don't know. He's using a lot of modern technologies. I get it. And like I said, guitar playing is amazing. There's nobody like him. One of the most unique players ever. Just doesn't really grab me much. Same thing for 2010's Emotion and Commotion, which is number 13 for me. Yeah, promo. That's the cover right there. This is a bit better. But, Hammerhead's a great tune. Serene is very nice. Corpus Christi Carol, there's some cool tunes on here, but otherwise, don't listen to it much. Try. Where are we? Number 12. Who Else from 1999. Some really good playing on this, I will say. This is like one of the ones from the more modern era that, for me, a little bit more listenable. Some really thumping grooves on here, and a lot, the guitar's just all over the place. I love that picture on the back of Jeff, right? Pretty cool. But, again, when I want to listen to Jeff Beck, I don't reach for a lot of these too often. Psycho Sam, good tune. Brush with the Blues. Space for the Papa. There's some good stuff on here. All right. It's just, yeah. All right. Again, one of the ones that I tossed about not including, but I'm going to put it in number 11, Frankie's House from 1992. This is the soundtrack, I guess, to the movie Frankie's House. I don't know anything about the film. Jeff Beck and Jed Lieber. Original soundtrack. A lot of tunes. You got like 15 tracks on here. It's like, it's actually guitar and keyboard. It's not guitar, so it's all program stuff. I thought it was basically him and a drummer, but it's actually a keyboard player doing all the samples and what have you, so that explains that. A lot of tracks on here. Like I said, half of it is pretty fully realized composition, so if you like some of the kind of neat instrumental stuff from Guitar Shop and There and Back, that sort of thing, kind of fits along those lines. The rest is kind of like more like kind of soundscapes and things like that. But, some good stuff on here for sure. As always, great playing, right? Great playing. All right, so the next two I kind of flip-flop back and forth a couple times. I couldn't really decide which one to go with. In fact, I'm going to change my mind again right now. I'm going to change my mind again right now. I'm going to go with number 10. I'm going to go with the Jeff Beck Group from 1972. Coming in number 10. I do like this a lot. This is basically Jeff along with Cozy Powell on drums, and Max Middleton on keyboards, Bobby Tench on vocals and rhythm guitar, and they got a different bass player on both of these albums. Who plays on this one? I honestly don't remember. Is it Tony Newman? I don't remember. Good album, kind of funky, right? I prefer the album that comes before, but it's got Ice Cream Cakes, which is dynamite. All right. What else? Got Sugarcane, fun tune. Definitely Maybe. Good stuff, good, funky, kind of early 70s hard rock, kind of bluesy. I dig it. Normally, I would have ranked it over the next album, but the next album, when it came out, I was just so into it, and there's a couple tracks on here that I absolutely adore, so I decided here at the last minute to rank it above. Number 9, I'm going to go with Flash. Flash came out in 1985. I know there's some people who absolutely hate this album. Again, this is Jeff trying to do something a little bit different, mid-80s, right? A lot of, very accessible music going on. But I think Ambitious is a great kind of funky R&B type track with some scalding guitar work. It Gets Us All in the End is one of my favorite Jeff Beck songs of all time. It's just got probably the most scorching Jeff Beck lead guitar on any song that he ever recorded, in my opinion. I just love that. The Beautiful Escape, you got, his big reunion with Rod Stewart, People Get Ready, okay, kind of a fun, kind of old bluesy pop tune. Stop, Look, and Listen, more funk. You got the great Jimmy Hall singing lead vocals on this album. Jimmy Hall, of course, from Wet Willie. Ecstasy, Get Working, good funky tune. I like this album. I know there's a lot of people who don't, but it's just, when it came out, I was really into it. As a 19-year-old kid, I was, some albums hit you at certain times and they stick with you. That's just the way it goes, right? Coming in at number 8 from 1973, I'm going to go with the Beck, Bogart, and Appice, or Beck, Bogart, and a Piece, however the hell you want to say Carmine's last name, right? Pretty huge album when it came out. Pretty much a super group, Jeff Beck getting together with the two guys from the Vanilla Fudge and Cactus. Didn't last too long. Egos running rampant. Jeff, I believe, got injured during or after the tour or something like that, if I remember correctly. And band, basically, that was it. A good album that could have been a lot better. Black Cat Moan is fantastic. Superstition is great. Sweet, Sweet Surrender's fun. I'm So Proud. You got some cover tunes on here, some original stuff. Why Should I Care? Lady. Oh, To Love You. Lose Myself With You and Living Alone. It's got a lot of thump. Tim Bogart, great bass player. Yeah, Carmine is a fantastic heavy drummer. And of course, you got Beck's riffs and solos all over the place on here. So why wasn't this better? Well, if you ask me, it's because they didn't have a lead singer. Here you got all three guys singing. None of the three are very good singers. Probably Tim is probably the best of the three. And it suffered for it. Okay, I just think that it does not have a strong lead vocal presence. The rumors are, where that Rod Stewart was supposed to actually sing for these guys in this lineup, and that would have been something special. All right. I think I've also heard a rumor out there that Steve Marriott was talked to. I don't know, whatever. But that's what this is missing. This is missing that kind of superhuman vocal presence that would have taken this stuff way over the top. And then, they didn't follow it up with anything. So one of those supergroups doomed from the outset, but it's still a pretty fine album. It's like it's really good. Could have been great. All right. It's kind of how I always looked at that album. All right. Next up, number 7, we're going to go 1971, Rough and Ready. Jeff Beck Group. This is a great album. My man Cozy on drums. All right. This album to me is kind of reminds me of a little bit of like the same period Grand Funk Railroad as well as Rare Earth. All right. It's got that kind of funky groove to it. It's very soulful, but lots of great guitar work, right? It's kind of heavy in spots. Got the Feeling is terrific. New Ways Train, Max's tune, Short Business Situation, I've Been Used. A good rockin' groove-laden album. I think this is one of those albums that I'm enjoying more and more and more as the years go by. Number 6, going to go to 1980, There and Back. The Return to Fusion. All right. Actually, he never left Fusion for a number of years, but he returned to recording, I should say. Star Cycle, Too Much to Lose, got the Pump on here, El Becco. Of course, you got Tony Hymas and Jan Hammer on keyboards, Simon Phillips on drums, Mo Foster on bass, Space Boogie, all sorts of fun stuff on here. Very good album. Probably would have been, probably would have come in at number 5 if it wasn't for this one. Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop from 1989. Big fan of this. I was really into this when it came out. Saw him live on this tour, opening up for Stevie Ray Vaughan. Pretty special. This is basically just Jeff Beck, Terry Bozzio, and Tony Hymas. All right. Got the title track. You got Savoy, Behind the Veil, Big Block, the beautiful Where Were You? All right. Two Rivers, Slingshot, Stand On It, and Day in the House, top to bottom. Fantastic. Great compositions. Fantastic guitar work. Really memorable songs. It's not every day that an artist can create an album of all instrumental material and have someone say it's just totally memorable from start to finish. Kudos to those three, right? All right, next up, I'm going to go number 4. We're going to go 1969, Beck Ola. That's the second album with the original Jeff Beck group, okay, the Truth Group, whatever you want to call them. Rod Stewart, Ronnie Wood on bass, and Nicky Hopkins, Great group here. All Shook Up, a lot of covers on here. Spanish Boots is fantastic. You got Girl from Mill Valley, all right. Plinth, Water Down the Drain, a Jeff Beck classic. All right, The Hangman's Knee, and of course the ending mini epic Rice Pudding. Fantastic grooves, great vocals from Rod Stewart. Man, if this band would have continued, who knows how big they would have gotten. All right, as we know, Ron went to do all sorts of other things, the Faces and solo, right? Became huge on his own, didn't really need to be in the Jeff Beck group. But just imagine if these guys had stayed together for a couple more years, maybe another album or two. They were on that upward trajectory, right? Being one of the biggest bands at the time. All right, the top 3 for me, very tough. Almost nothing kind of separating them. This could change at any given time, but today I'm going with this. Number 3, I'm going to go with Wired. My beloved Wired from 1976. All right, this is one of the second of 2 full-on forays into jazz rock for Mr. Beck, okay, after he dissolved the Jeff Beck group. All right, probably with a lot of influence from John McLaughlin as well as, I'm drawing Tommy Bolin, drawing a complete blank there. A lot of great, fantastic songs on here. Lead Boots, all right. Goodbye Pork Pie Hat. I mean, Sophie, Blue Wind, man, top to bottom. You got Jan Hammer all over here on here. A lot of great players on this album. Just full of groove, full of life. It's very bright with some sizzling guitar work. Just a great, great album that, if it wasn't for Blow by Blow, that would be my favorite instrumental album from Mr. Beck. I'm going to go today, anyway, with Blow by Blow, the number 2. I mean, this was like a kick in the pants when this came out. What a beautiful album. You know, I don't often say that, but this is actually a beautiful album, produced by, George Martin, of course. Great stuff on here. It's got funk on here. It's got jazz fusion. It's got rock. It's just got kind of like classical stuff on here. It's just amazing. Great orchestrations. She's a Woman. Great cover of that. You Know What I Mean. Killer. Constipated Duck. Oh, man. Freeway Jam. Thelonious. Man, so many great songs on here. So many great songs on here. This just works on every level. And his guitar tone is just so tasty throughout. One of the best guitar tones ever on this album, in my opinion. All right, the top one, gotta go from 1968, gotta go with Truth. By the way, Blow by Blow was 1975, in case I didn't mention it. I mean, this is just a fantastic album. This was a big album. Like I said, this band could have been enormous. They were well on their way, but we know how it went. Shapes of Things, killer. I mean, those legendary guitar tones on this album, Jeff doing all sorts of things that, other than maybe Jimi Hendrix, no one else was doing at the time. Let Me Love You, savage, all right? And cannot understate how great Rod Stewart's vocals are on this album. Morning Dew, You Shook Me is nasty on here. Old Man River, Green Sleeves, okay? Grand, majestic, all right? Rock My Plimsoll, Beck's Bolero, how legendary is that song? Blues Deluxe, lots of jamming on that. And, of course, I Ain't Superstitious, heavy and biting and all it needs to be. So there you have ranking the albums of the mighty Jeff Beck. Let me recap them for you. Number 1, I'm going to go with Truth. Number 2, Blow by Blow. Number 3, Wired. Number 4, Beckola. Number 5, Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop. Number 6, There and Back. Number 7, Rough and Ready. Number 8, Beck, Bogart, and Appice. I keep on saying Appice, whatever. Number 9, Flash. Number 10, the Jeff Beck Group. Number 11, Frankie's House. Number 12, Who Else? Number 13, Emotion and Commotion. Number 14, You Had It Coming. Number 15, Loud Hailer. 16, Jeff. And number 16, Crazy Legs. And number 17, Jeff from 2003. So feel free to rank them as you like them. All right, remember there's no right or wrong answer here. We all kind of hear these albums differently. So, I'm sure some of you are going to like some of these albums better than I do. So instead of telling me, I can't believe you ranked this one higher or lower than that one, just tell us how you like them, right? Whatever. This is how I like them. You're not going to change my mind, right? So, and I don't need to give them another listen. People seem to want to do that all the time. Pete, you really need to listen to this album again. It's so much better than you think it is. If you think so, great. You have every right to think so. I've listened to all these albums. I know how I like them, all right? It's not going to make me change my mind. I don't need to change my mind, all right? Like I said, none of these albums are terrible. It's just some I just don't dig as much as others. The way it goes, right? You are the same way with your choices. So rank them as you like them, all right? Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Coming up, going to do some Jimi Hendrix either tomorrow or Wednesday. So you don't want to miss that. That'll be a special one. Might need 2 days to get ready for that. Jack Toledano and I are still planning on doing the Iced Earth Top 10 Songs one, and I think we're going to try and do that Wednesday night. So that'll be coming up soon, too. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss them, and see you guys real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.